Welcome to Relax and Chat, episode 35. Today we have a great guest, the YouTube presence of the one and only Arron Hook. Hello, Arron. How you doing today?
I'm very well, Rod. Hope you're well.
Oh, I'm doing well. Too many things on my table, but that's a daily problem for me. um, really excited to talk with you today. Your incredible book reviews, your YouTube channel. Your popularity is growing very well. And I think it's primarily due to your very honest reviews. Nowadays in any area, it seems like honesty is getting hard to find. And it's so cool to be able to turn on YouTube, go to your channel, and whatever the topic of discussion is, no matter how much somebody may like or dislike what you're saying, you always be honest. You share your honest thoughts. I applaud you. That means so much, not only to me, but I think to most viewers. Who wants to go on YouTube and listen to a bunch of BS that isn't truthful? You know? How you like doing your YouTube show overall since you started? Have you had fun with it?
Yeah, absolutely. I really have enjoyed it. I should say that if you look at my channel starts technically in January 2024. Actually started in May 2023, but I had a bit of illness just after that, and so I stopped the channel and then restarted it. But since January last year, I've really enjoyed it, especially doing more live streams where because I like those long form discussions where you can talk about books, but also talk about everything more broadly than that, connected with books and everything. So
yeah,
particularly enjoy those.
Cool. It is very cool, and you do have some really great panels and discussions. A lot of fun. My personal interest, I love your honest book reviews of any book you review. I have often added books to my TBR based entirely on what your opinion of that book was. And I love that I can trust what you're saying. And when I buy the book and read the book, your review was spot on, and I know I can trust you. If you're recommending a book, that book's worth seeing. And I love that. That's freaking awesome. So I'm going to jump into the questions a little bit. I only have a couple, and they shouldn't be hard to address. The first one I think is very general, but you read a lot, and you read a lot of different types of stuff. So based on that, I want to ask you, what's your favorite genre to read? If you're not working, you're just relaxing in the evening and you want to read something, what's your go-to genre?
Well, if it's fiction, it's sort of spy action adventure stuff. So say Ian Fleming, sometimes Tom Clancy, Jack Higgins. So he's very famous for writing The Eagle Has Landed. Really good book if nobody's read it. And so that in fiction is well. Like in non-fiction, it'd be history, particularly more broadly British history. And but pretty much those are the two things I will read. Might as well go to.
Sounds great. My press hasn't yet introduced it, but since day one as a writer, I've always been interested in horror first, fantasy, and action thrillers,
Yeah.
And James Bond is certainly an action thriller. I mean, those are cool things. And so I'll be very excited when I have no idea what it'll be, but when I publish the first action thriller, I'll be very excited to send that to you and see what you think of it. I'm almost running this press completely by myself, and time is always beating me up. But I am trying to move along. I've got a lot of plans in my company, just trying to make it happen. I wish I had a staff, but it ain't always about money. I don't have a lot of that. But the hardest thing is finding people really interested in working for a publishing house and really wanting to get into a long-term career. People don't seem to think long-term anymore. It's like, I want to make a buck today. I don't care about 6 months or 6 years from now. Do you think that's true over there in the UK? Has that mindset shifted in that degree?
I think it does exist, yeah. And there's also the matter of time as well. The people don't seem to be willing to put the time in, because you don't necessarily need to have a lot of money. If you're able to put the time in, that makes up for the lack of money. and there does seem to be a lack of that there. And actually, interesting, you mentioned sort of fantasy as being one of the things you're interested in. You notice that with a lot of modern publishing, that there's some mainstream publishing where they will just go to fantasy because it makes that is a sort of money spinner. Whereas they won't necessarily try to action thriller stuff as much, or if they do thrillers, it's sort of what used to be known as domestic thrillers because they again make money. And so so it seems to be something that's quite big in publishing today, where that sort of wanting just like the money immediately instead of being prepared to put in sort of the work and gradually sort of build things up. That will produce something that's really good. And you see a lot of that with you've probably seen. I'm not sure you've seen this on TikTok, where if there's a book on TikTok that's doing around this fantasy, there's probably a good chance it's not very good, but it's just been put out there because he knows it can make a lot of money very quickly.
Yeah. I think I read somewhere that the #1 best-selling genre is romance.
Yeah.
And funny thing is, that's my least interest in all of reading. And I mean, I've seen occasional movies that were very good, but I'm not a real big fan of romance, especially like the Harlequin type stuff. I don't knock any brand. Harlequin's extremely popular, or you wouldn't know what I'm talking about.
Oh, that, yeah.
But it's really not my cup of tea. I don't really dig it, And so I don't intend to publish romance in my press. It's just, if you don't love doing it, don't do it, because there's so much work involved that you have to love it to keep going. It's just like running your YouTube channel. I'm sure there's days when it seems like grueling work, but you need to get it done. You gave your word you were going to do this. And, it is, isn't it? Sometimes it's hard work. You really have to love what you're doing, I'm going to try to move on to the next question, and I hope this one won't be too hard. If it is, just say so. Here we go. Okay, my next question I'd like to ask you is, looking into the future, let's say between now and the end of 2026. That's a nice window. What do you see for your channel over that period of time? What's in the future of your channel? What would you like to do?
Well, I know one thing I'd like to do, and we're actually going to start doing next month, which is a book club. It's going to call the Imperial Pulp Fiction Book Club. So sort of British action adventure stuff and some horror, something along those lines. Pretty much anything published between about 1860 and 1980, roughly. And that's going to go once a month. So that's one thing I know I'm going to do. And hopefully I've got all the books planned for that, going up to actually the end of 2026. So that hopefully will keep going. But also I do want to do more. I've done film reviews, TV review stuff on my channel, but one thing I would like to do is start sort of reviewing particular series that I really enjoy watching. So Sharp, which has got Sean Bean in, Hornblower, Professionals, this sort of thing. And hopefully I'll get sure to do those alongside obviously continuing to do book reviews of both traditionally published stuff and also indie published stuff as well.
Oh, awesome. Sounds pretty exciting. The book club sounds like might be a lot of work, but it sounds like it would be something very rewarding to be involved in. That sounds good. That's a good plans for that period of time. That's awesome. And your channel is growing nicely, and if you add a little bit of the time, that's really the best way. It's just like with anything else. One sudden burst of success, but then it dies off, is nowhere near as rewarding as a nice gradual growth. In any business, you want to grow, and best growth is that which builds over time. And I really believe that, and I believe you're on the right track. Your channel is doing great. Love seeing it. I look for your shows. There are some that I'm browsing YouTube. There they are, and I'll take a look sometimes. I'll actually go to YouTube and click on Arron Hook and look and see what you're up to, because I want to watch one of your shows. I love that. Okay, I'm going to try to move on to the next question. Okay, this I think will be very interesting to a lot of authors, a lot of writers, especially new writers. So you do a lot of reviews, and you care enough to showcase the story and the author. So that's a great opportunity for any writer. and get their name out there, get their story out there. People hear about them and know about them. Every author, every writer wants that. So I'm curious, when a book comes across your desk and you begin to read it, what is it that you think that a writer puts into their story in any genre that as you read through the story, and especially when you get to the end, you're like, I really want to give this a positive review. This really struck me in this way. What's the best thing a writer can be sure they put into their story where reviewers, whether they be on Goodreads, Amazon, or YouTube, where reviewers are very likely to give a good positive review? What's that little thing that you think any of your writers you've read, what's it take?
I think part of it is to do with the fact that their objective first and foremost is to tell a good story, regardless to what genre they're writing in. That they're planning to tell you, get you from point A to point B to point C, one competently, and then also enjoyably. So again, this applies to all sort of genres that I read, and there's a lot of the writers that in the past I've read who I haven't enjoyed. They haven't done that. They've fallen down on something, and also the characterization. The main character doesn't have to be likable, but they have to be interesting. And as long as they're interested, whether you like them or not, you'll enjoy reading it. So, for example, I'm a big fan of the George MacDonald Fraser Flashman books, and Flashman is a coward, a toady, a complete unpleasant individual, but he's a really engaging character, and because it's told from his point of view, and he's, as he says, as George MacDonald Fraser has him say, completely shameless. That just engages you and gets you to go along, and then combines that with really good stories. And so it's writing the story with the intention of telling a good story and making sure the main character, whether they're likable or not, are engaging.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that's excellent. I don't think there's anything more boring than reading about a boring character that just doesn't really get your attention. That certainly is a very good point. Audience, to the writers, you want to get your book reviewed by Arron and by many others? He just gave you some very sound advice. So well done, Arron. Thank you. One of the biggest things I like to do with this show is try to help the audience. And most guests are willing to give a tidbit or two of what they think they can do to help a new writer, because I was a new writer. I think you're beginning to dabble in writing. Is that right?
Yeah.
And when you're new, it is so hard because you don't know which way to turn. You don't know where to go. There's so much bad advice out there, and it makes it way difficult to get started. And my only answer to that really works is you've got to believe in yourself. You got to go for it. No matter what the hurdles are, if you want it, you got to go get it. And I say that so much, people are probably tired of it, but it is true. I'd like to move on to the next segment, and I like to give the guests an opportunity that they can share anything they want to share with the audience. I guide the show a little bit with a few questions, but then I like to try to hush my chatter a bit, and the stage is yours. You can share anything you like with the audience.
Well, what I'll do is I'll talk about BookTube just because it's something I've sort of got to know a bit more since starting it. I interacted with BookTube initially as a viewer, but then got into it as actually doing it properly, as in putting out videos. And I would say there is an element of BookTube where trying to make your channel a success is seen as a bad thing, which I find completely odd, because a BookTube channel is, not to get too pressured about it, a YouTube channel, and the object is to put videos up for people to watch. And so people sort of getting a bit sniffy about the idea of people getting success. There was a bit of controversy a few weeks ago about a channel that put up a video saying about how he hadn't been as successful as he wanted to be. And then there was a lot of booktubers who went out and sort of criticised him for effectively telling him, you shouldn't want your channel to be successful. You shouldn't want it to be a sort of going concern from which you can make a bit of money. And all I could think was, no, that might not be your particular aim, and it's not mine. but that is an entirely legitimate aim to have. Especially if it's only to make a small amount of money that you could then use to buy books, to read more of them, and do more reviews. And for me, watching that, it just showed there's a part of BookTube that seems to have a very snobbish attitude towards making money around book reviews. There is also another part of BookTube where they seem to have an issue of they are very sort of whilst they publicly criticise. This is a separate area of BookTube. Whilst they quite publicly criticise the mainstream publishing industry for not being good enough on issues of race, gender, and the like, they have no problem of being hand in glove with them when it comes to popularising popular books, to really working with them when it comes to popularising authors, particularly when it comes to fantasy. So they're very much people who are on YouTube, but they are very much in the same mold as some people who do stuff with them on TikTok, as I mentioned before. So, yeah.
Yeah, I've got to say, I agree with you. And sadly, it applies to YouTube. It applies to everything in the book publishing industry. It certainly applies to all forms of social media. It applies to our world. There's so many angry, disgruntled people. And these little angry gremlins want to get on there and just criticize and be mean and be negative. I have no idea what motivates them to do that. It's so negative. And I'll be honest, maybe I'm a jerk. I hope not. But my method of that is if somebody comes on any social media, on my show, or anything to do with my press, if they're mean to me at all, and they're just being spiteful or, brought their anger to me before they even knew who I was, 3, 2, 1, poof, they don't exist in my world. I don't have time to argue. I don't like to argue. I will have a conversation on almost any topic. More than happy to hear what other people think, believe in. I'm very open to that sort of thing. I am not open to being mean for the sake of mean and arguing. It's such a waste of time. But I do want to make sure we get this segment in because I know the audience would really want this. I put these shows across my entire platform on all the social media that I'm on. And some of them can't see the description that's down in the bottom on the YouTube channel. And so I asked the guests to please verbally say where a writer or anyone might be able to say hello to Arron and ask about how to get on your show or ask your advice, whatever they may want to do. So if you would, please share your social media, your website, whatever you like. And of course, I'll have those things in the description. But if you would, go ahead and, let them know where to find Arron.
I really only have 2 social medias. One is my YouTube channel, which if you put in at Arron James Hook, if you can see my name on the screen, Arron spelled ARRON. So if you put that in, my YouTube channel will come up. And on my YouTube channel, I have my email address. So if you want to contact me, you can do that, which is arronjameshook@gmail.com. And then my other social media is X, where I'm just as Arron Hook. I can't remember the exact name of it, but if you put Arron Hook in, I come up. I think the first result, so you'll be able to find me that way.
Awesome. Because particularly new writers, if you want a little leg up on moving your career forward, it is always, I call it the lifeblood of a writer, is getting reviews. Because the reviews let you know when maybe you're not quite hitting the mark, and that helps you. Reviews also let readers know, hey, this book is worth reading. So it's a win-win. A good, honest review is something every writer should want. So if you're a new writer and you want to give yourself a boost, try to contact Arron, let him know what you got to offer, see if you can fit into his very busy schedule. It'll be worth it. It'll help you a lot to get to know this gentleman. He is a great friend to the writing world. And I personally, I have had such great experience talking with Arron. He has reviewed, I think, every short story I ever wrote.
Yeah.
And You know, he's so supportive and so friendly. And above all else, I wish, Aaron, that we did not live so far apart. I would love to hang out with you, grab a pint, and just pass the day chit chatting. And the reason for that is because Aaron is obviously a very nice gentleman, but above all else, he's honest. And boy, that's getting hard to find in our world. So, guys, please forgive me for going on like I do, but give Aaron a hello on his socials. And of course, on YouTube, I'll have all the necessary links down in the description. Aaron, I can't thank you enough for coming on, sharing your thoughts, sharing your knowledge. Such a great help to writers out there. And I am so grateful for what you do. I hope you keep doing it. I hope you keep being more and more successful. Can't wait to see what your book club turns out to be. Sounds very, very interesting. To the audience, once again, this is the end of episode 35 of Relax and Chat. I hope you'll join me for the next one. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.